Welcome here to Story Time. My name is Choogie Kingfisher. I'm a full-blood Kituwah Cherokee, and I come from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. It's my pleasure to be here with you. It's a little bit different doing it this way, but I'm rather enjoying it, so I hope you enjoy it with me. I've been doing storytelling for over 30 years now, and many of the stories that I share with you have been stories that have been passed down to me through grandparents, parents, aunties, uncles, cousins, sometimes even just strangers that I've never even met before. But today I want to share those stories with you. Being a storyteller for those 30 years, I seem to get in to find some of my stories are my favorite. And this is one of those stories. It says that a long time ago, when this earth was new, there were only animals here. And these animals, they could walk and talk, and they spoke the Cherokee language. That is why we know these stories, is because the animals told us. They said one of these days when we learn to listen again, they will tell us more stories, but until then, this was one that was told of how Rabbit got his long ears, his long legs. Creator, who we call Unethana, was walking around in his home in the sky that we call Galalati. And he looked down upon this new thing that he had created. In our language, we call it Elohim, earth. And as he looked down, he began to smile. You see, as he looked down, he saw that his creation was being very nice to each other. Throughout the entire town that he looked in, he saw that everyone was being helpful, everyone was being kind. And the Creator, this made him smile because this was the way that they were created. So he thought to himself, I want to reward my children. I want to give them something. But what shall I give them? And so as he was walking around thinking about it, he said, I know, I can give them a wish. Everyone likes wishes. So maybe there is one wish that maybe they want more than any other. And so he came down out of his home in the sky, and he sat down among his children, and everyone wondered why the Creator was there. He said, I've been watching you from my home in the sky, and I've noticed that each and every one of you have been kind to each other. And so I want to give you one wish. Oh, everyone began to talk with excitement as they began to think about the wonderful wishes that they were going to have. And the Creator said, those of you that want a wish, line up on this side. And so they all began to line up. And one after another, they came in from the Creator, and they made their wish. Awohali, the eagle, he looked very much different than he does today. As he came up, he had short wings, round body. And he said, Unethana, I want to be able to fly and see the whole world from where I am. As it is now, I can't even get up off the ground. Creator looked at the eagle. He said, close your eyes. And so Awohali, he closed his eyes, and everyone waited to see what wonderful wish was going to come out of the smoke. And Creator reached down and poof. And out of that smoke, eagle's wings began to grow. Oh, they began to stretch out as he began to flap his wings, and he began to come up off the ground. He made small circles, and then larger and larger until he disappeared off into the heavens. Today, that is where you find Awohali flying there next to heaven. Many times when we use those eagle feathers, we are asking our brother the eagle to come and carry those prayers to the Creator. Animal after animal came and made their wish, and there were many beautiful wishes. One little animal came up, and he was very disturbed. As he came up, he said, Unethana, I want people just to leave me alone. Creator looked down at the small creature. He said, Dealy, what is it? Why do you want people to leave you alone? I don't know. I just don't like people. I just don't want nobody around me. Creator said, eventually, someone is going to need someone. He said, so dearly, I will grant your wish for the time being. Close your eyes. And so dearly stood there with his eyes closed, and Creator reached down and poof, and out of the smoke, everyone was waiting to see what was going to happen. But there stood Dealey, looking around, wondering what his wish was. He looked up at the Creator and said, Unathana, where's my wish at? Creator said, you will always carry your wish with you. Now go and be on your way. As Dealey was walking off, everyone got a big whiff of him. You see, today, that is the skunk. And of course, everybody leaves the skunk alone. And so he got his wish. Animal after animal continued to come, and soon there came G-Stu, the trickster rabbit. Now, the rabbit, he is told in many legends throughout the eastern part of the United States. He is always that trickster, playing tricks, but on this day, this was in the very beginning time when he looked very much different than he does today. You see, he had short ears, short front and back legs, and a long, long bushy tail. When he came up, he said, Unathana, I got 2 wishes if that's all right with you. Creator looked down at G-Stu and said, Rabbit, I've been giving everyone 1 wish. Why should I give you 2? Well, you see, when we're eating or we're drinking water and someone sneaks up behind us to eat us, we can't hear them till they're right there because we got these little bitty short ears and we can't hear them till they're right there. And then we've got these little bitty short legs, and when we try to run away, they just scoop us up and eat us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to disappear before the humans get here. Creator thought about it a few moments. He said, you know you're right. And so this is what I will do. I will grant you your 2 wishes, but I can't poof you like I did everybody else. So this is what I'm going to have to do. Those of you that are waiting on wishes, turn around and look that way. Those of you that have received wishes, turn around and look that way. I don't want anyone to see what I'm going to do to the rabbit. He reached down and picked the rabbit up and grabbed those little bitty short ears. And he began to stretch. And he began to pull, and as he was doing that, rabbit began to yell and scream, "Ay-yo-ay! Hey! I like these ears. I can hear." And so, as Rabbit began to listen, he said, Unathana, with these good ears, I can hear who's talking down there. Can I go get onto them? No, Rabbit, come here. But wait, with these good ears, I can hear who's talking down there. Can I go get onto them, please? G-Stu knew long. As the rabbit was walking back, he noticed there was something missing. He looked to his left, to his right, all the way around, but he couldn't find what he was looking for. And so he stood there. He said, Unathana, I think you lost something. Creator said, G-Stu, what did I lose? I think you lost my tail. Creator, he began to laugh. He said, oh, G-Stu, look behind you. And so the rabbit turned around to look, and to his amazement, he saw a cute little cottontail. You see, whenever Creator stretched those ears out, that big old long bushy tail went shoop, and the only thing left was the tip of that tail. He was quite proud of that. Rabbit stood there, and Creator made sure no one was looking, and he picked up the rabbit and grabbed those back legs, and He began to stretch and he began to pull. And as he was doing that again, the rabbit began to yell and scream. Down here was the owl. And the owl, he couldn't stand not knowing what was going on behind him. So he found a loophole. You see, he stood in one place and began to turn his head all the way around to look behind him. He saw the Creator stretching those back legs, and Owl's eyes got real big. He said, "Oh my goodness, did you see that?" But nobody else looked. The Creator put the rabbit down. He said, "No more wishes. Because the owl disobeyed me, his eyes will always stay big like that." As the Creator started to go into the heavens, there stood the rabbit. Long ears, long back legs. "Oh, nothing, are you going to stretch my front legs, please?" And the Creator looked out across his children. He said, "When everyone in this world can learn to be nice to each other again, I will come and I will stretch your front legs." At least that's how the story was told to me. I brought with me some of my instruments, and many of you that have seen my program have seen many of my flutes, and I still cherish them today. I don't much consider myself a flute player. I'm a storyteller that knows how to play the flute. But when I play what I feel in my heart, what I feel in my mind, and many times just what I feel in the day. This flute right here is a woodpecker on the end. And the woodpecker was very important to us as Cherokee people. It was considered a bird of war as we tried to mimic his stealthiness, his quietness when attacking an enemy. But I want to tell you the very beginning story. It says that in that very beginning time, there were only animals, and soon the humans came. And in this one town, there lived an elder woman. No one ever knew what her family was, or even if she had any. But out beside her house, there was a huge orchard. That orchard had apple trees, plum, cherries, and so on and so forth. And every day she would go out and she would take the dead limbs and dead leaves off and take off the bugs, and all the while she was singing. You see, those were her babies. The quickest way to the swimming hole was through her trees. And many times a group of young people would be caught running through the trees, and the woman would come running out, throwing her hands up into the air. "Get away from my babies, you're going to kill my babies." And the young ones, they would run just that much faster, giggling and laughing. One day there was such a group of young boys, and as they were waiting, they were looking for the elder woman. Since she wasn't in sight, they took off running through her trees. About halfway through, the elder woman came out of her house and she saw the young boys running through her trees. In elder woman fashion, she threw her hands up into the air. She said, "Get away from my babies. You're going to kill my babies." And the boys ran faster. Now this woman, she wore the same thing every day. She wore a white apron with a black dress underneath and a red kerchief on her head. And as she began to chase the boys, there was one young boy on the end that he paid particular attention to the elder woman. When they got there to the swimming hole, they began to talk about it all, giggling and laughing. That night, as the young boy was speaking with his mother, he asked his mom, "Mom, why does she act like that?" The mother had no answers other than to tell the young boy, "Pray for her." And so that night, the young man prayed for that elder woman. A few weeks later, this same group of young boys were waiting to see if the elder woman was around, and she wasn't in sight, so they took off running. And again, about halfway through, the elder woman came out of her home. She began to scream at the young boys, and the boys ran faster, but on this day it was going to be different. You see, as Unethanah, the Creator, was walking around his home in the sky, he heard this awful cry. And he looked down upon this earth, and he saw the woman. And then he remembered the prayer. The Creator, he shook his head. He said, "That is not how I want my children to act." And so the Creator, he thought about her a few moments. He said, "I will send her a warning. And if she will stop what she was doing, then I will turn her back into a human." The Creator pointed down, and the woman who was chasing the young boys, throwing her arms up into the air, stopped in amazement as her arms were now wings. She knew that she had done something wrong, and so she turned to go back home. The Creator, he smiled, and he said, "Now maybe she has learned her lesson." But out of the corner of her eye, she saw the boys running through her trees. She turned and began to wave her wings into the air. "Get away from my babies! You're going to kill my babies!" And the Creator, he shook his head and he pointed again. And turned the body of the woman into that of a bird. The woman landed on a limb, and she looked at her wings. She looked at her body, and she knew that she must have done something wrong. And so she flapped her wings and turned to go back home. But out of the corner of her eye, she saw the boys. She turned and began flying after them, screaming and yelling, and the Creator, he shook his head and pointed again. This time, the woman's head turned into that of a bird. She landed on another limb, and she looked at her wings, she looked at her body. This time she looked at her beak. And she began to cry. And she knew that she had done something wrong. She turned to go back home, and the Creator, he smiled. "Finally," he said, "finally she has learned her lesson." But out of the corner of her eye, she saw the boys. She took off flying after them, screaming, but this time in a voice that was no longer recognizable to the young men. That was the very first red-headed woodpecker, still wearing her black dress and her white apron and a red kerchief on her head. If you find yourself out near a wild fruit tree, be very careful, because somewhere close by is a grandchild of that very first woodpecker. listen very carefully, you can see and you can hear that woodpecker singing. And if you get too close, that woodpecker will fly after you, just like the grandmother did, oh, those many years ago. At least that's the story that was told to me. When I first began this journey, I would ask many for their stories, and there were many that were shared. This one in particular was told by my granny. Now my granny, she was a sweet woman. Many of my memories of her are that she was blind from diabetes, cataracts, but that never dampened her spirit, and her stories were always so lively. This is one of those stories. We've all heard of the 3 little pigs, but as the wolf was defeated and he was walking down the path, they journeyed for many days, just wondering what if he would have caught one of those little pigs. As he was feeling sorry for himself, he happened to look up, and there, down the path, there was a little pig. Hey, maybe I can gobble him up, thought the wolf. And so the wolf, he took off running, but the little pig had already seen him. And the little pig already knew what had happened with his 3 cousins down the road. And so the little pig ran into his house, closed the curtains, locked the door, and there he hid. As the wolf came to the door, he knocked on the door because he knew he had been found out. Said, little pig, I have come for a visit. But there was no answer. Little pig, I know you're there. I saw you. Little pig knew he had been found out, and so he said, Brother Wolf, what is it? What can I help you with today? The wolf said, oh, little brother, I am so hungry, and I thought that maybe you might help me out. Little pig was way ahead of the wolf. He said, Brother Wolf, I will indeed help you out. If you will look right there by the door, there is a bag of cherries. You can have all that you want. Oh, the wolf had been foiled before his plan even started. But the wolf took the cherries and went down the path and found a comfortable spot and began to eat. Later that day, he came back. He said, little pig, those cherries were wonderful, and I thank you for those cherries, but it was really wild potatoes that I wanted. So what do you say in the morning we go and dig wild potatoes? The little pig knew that all the wolf wanted to do was to get him out of his house and gobble him up. But the little pig was very smart. He said, Wolf, in the morning you meet me here, just as the sun is coming over the mountains, and we will go and we will dig wild potatoes. wolf, he was very happy because tomorrow he was going to have bacon. As he took his cherries, he went on down the road and he waited. And the next morning, bright and early, there was the wolf knocking on the door of Little Pig. Little Pig, it's time to go. Little Pig said, "Oh, Brother Wolf, I couldn't sleep when I got up early this morning. And I went and dug wild potatoes. There's your sack right outside the door." The wolf had been fooled again. But the wolf was determined. He said, "Oh, thank you for the potatoes, but what would really go good with potatoes would be fried apples. Hey, what do you say in the morning we go and we get some apples?" Again, the little pig knew what was going on. And so he said, "All right, in the morning, you be here bright and early and we will go to the orchard and we will get apples." The wolf took his potatoes and he went down the road and he ate, thinking about tomorrow. The next morning when the wolf got up, he didn't even bother to go to the little pig's house. He went straight to the orchard and there he saw, high in the tree, the little pig. The little pig was throwing down apples. And he watched as the little pig came down out of the tree, gathered the apples and threw them into a barrel. There were two, one for him and one for the wolf. The little pig saw the wolf and ran to the tree and climbed as high as he could. Here came the wolf. He said, "Oh, little pig, I knew that you would be here waiting on me." Little pig was trying to think up a great and wonderful plan. And so he began to throw the apples down. He said, "Wolf, you pick the apples up and put them in those barrels over there, and that way this will go by a lot quicker." So as the little pig began to throw the apples down, the wolf would pick up one and run to the barrel, come back and pick up another one. The little pig noticed this. And so he took an apple and he threw it to this side. And the wolf ran and got the apple and then ran to the barrel. He threw an apple to this side, ran and got the apple, ran to the barrel. The little pig had one apple left. With a mighty throw, he threw it across the field, and there went the wolf chasing that apple. The little pig jumped down out of the tree, ran to the empty barrel and jumped in and rolled down the hill. The wolf saw what was going on, turned and came back, knocked over the barrel with the apples in it and dumped out as many as he could, and he jumped in and he too rolled down the hill, being beat up by the remaining apples in the barrel. When he got to the bottom, because the wolf was so much heavier, his barrel continued to roll. And when he finally struck a rock, the barrel shattered into all these pieces, and there lay the wolf, watching as the little pig hurried home. My granny used to tell me this story. She said, "Choogie, if you ever find yourself in a situation, pray." He said, because prayer is always the best answer. And Unethlana, the Creator, will surely send an answer, just like he did to the little pig. At least that's the way my granny told me. I hope you enjoyed our story time today, and I look forward to another time. Until then, we will see you down the road. Bueno.